Yes, the people. So today I'm going to be talking about my personal issue with new zombie games that are being made, specifically Call of Duty Zombies. Now don't get me wrong, I think that Call of Duty Zombies is probably one of the most game-changing generational shifts we've ever seen in video games. Like, I think personally, to me, that every generation that has ever grown up will grow up with the zombies. If you're very old, sorry, this is me by the way, you will grow up with World at War and Black Ops 1. If you're a little bit older, you probably grew up with Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3. Like I said, I grew up with World at War, which was my personal favourite Call of Duty ever to exist. There was nothing better than coming home from school, having a stressful day and kicking back with some World at War, playing the campaign, playing the online. I had a PS3, so I had online for free, unlike Xbox noobs. Now, when I grew up a little bit more, I grew up with Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3, which, to be honest, I didn't play too much Black Ops 3, but Black Ops 2 was my second favourite Call of Duty. Mob of the Dead was my ultimate favourite map. There was nothing like beating the Easter egg, getting used to it, and then figuring out how to do it every single game without a guide, and then eventually mastering it to where you can do it flawlessly. Now, in my opinion, I think that the Easter egg aspect really kicked off on Black Ops 3, but there was definitely that part on Black Ops 2 that really played it. Obviously, in Black Ops 1, they had the music Easter egg in Canada and Toten, which was, I think, one of the first Easter eggs. There was that one in World at War with the radio, which was mind-blowing at the time that they fit something so insanely discreet inside of the map that could do that, and then I really think they flourished in Black Ops 1. Now, obviously, in World at War Der Riese, they had the idea to incorporate sort of mission-based, you got to do this and that to get the Pack-a-Punch sort of thing, so they definitely had it from an early game. Now, they definitely carried on with that as well into Canada and Toten, which wasn't actually supposed to be Canada and Toten, it was supposed to be a completely different map, but they added it so where you also had to do a mission to get the Pack-a-Punch. Then they also had the idea of Moon with the hacking device. Now, my point is they should have been unstoppable with the ideas of doing little missions, turning into Easter eggs, making them big things that you need guides for, making them overly complicated a little bit in the newer games. Now, obviously, when I say some people, I mean me, I found it more complicated. There were a lot of people that really enjoyed doing it and figuring out how to do it and following the guides. And it also influenced the guide system of custom maps where you have to do Bible ending building and building the Pack-a-Punch, building everything else. All of it sort of influenced Black Ops 3, custom zombies, even World at War, custom zombies back in the time. Now, when Infinite Warfare, Advanced Warfare, and Black Ops 4 came out, that is when the Easter egg game blew out of the water. There were so many YouTubers making so many more Easter egg guides. It blew up. It made the game so much more popular, again, in my opinion. Now, I'll tell you an absolute hot take I have. A lot of people hated the World War II zombies. I was one of the very small minority that really enjoyed it. Now, I don't know if you remember me saying, but I was one of the small amount of people that also really struggled with some of the newer, more complex Easter eggs. Now, which is funny because everybody that I talked to and I said I struggled with looked at me like I was stupid. Bro, all you have to do is look at a guide and follow it. But I had problems because I was dying too quickly before I could even get close. Now, I know obviously that's not Call of Duty's fault that I'm too slow to do their complicated Easter eggs. That's not my fault. But I was part of one of the only people that ever really knew that struggled with it. So again, obviously I know this is all personal experience and opinions, but I really enjoyed World War II because although they had Easter eggs and guides and things to build, I found it really a lot easier. Now, I know that Black Ops 4 actually came after World War II, but I was one of the late growers that actually bought World War II on sale because I didn't buy it on launch, and I was one of the people that tried it before. So I actually played Black Ops 4 first, even though it was released after. Then another hot take to blow your little minds is I actually really enjoyed Cold War. I think one of the first maps they made, first of all, the fact that they were all free, but I really enjoyed the Nukked Reimagined. It completely blew my mind at the time when I first played it, and I didn't even realize it was Nukked. I really enjoyed the system where they actually sort of guided you through how to do certain stuff, how to build the Pack-a-Punch with little waypoints on how to get there. Now, unlike World War II, I actually bought Cold War on launch, so I was very fresh to it, and although it was really rough to start with, some of the maps, some of the modes, I think it really grew and sprouted into something amazing, and I think it's really appreciated with how bad some of the zombies that they're making now. I think people are going back and realizing what they've missed and what they've taken for granted. Now that I've gone through my personal experience with the history of zombies a little bit, I could have went further, but oh well, I want to talk about my initial problem, which is the point of the video. And I think everybody can agree the new zombies, the new generation of zombies, is arse. Now let's start off with the elephant in the room, the Voldemort no one should speak of, Vanguard. An absolute putrid state of a game that had no round-based zombies to start with. It was abysmal. They were lazy by remastering the same fucking map they've already remastered fucking 5 times. It was no joke, and I was really annoyed at it. I was really annoyed that they've given us this slop after, in my opinion, what was a good game but to everyone else a bad game. Again, now it's more appreciated, but Vanguard was abysmal, absolutely trash. And now this was unfortunately the precedent they set. They used this game, Vanguard, as an example for future games. Although it was so hated, it was so critically unacclaimed, it was a waste of time and money, and yet they thought to themselves, hey, let's redo this formula another fucking 3 times where people are still going to complain about it. It gets me so heated sometimes to think about the money-grabbing, Mr. Krabs energy, greedy example they're setting by making the whole game about microtransactions now. It's disgusting and it's predatory. They know goddamn well little kids are going to keep buying it every single year. I'm saying something that the community has been preaching out. Millions and millions and millions of videos, millions and millions of different creators have been setting out to say that it is predatory on kids. It's not predatory on kids to make them miserable, it's predatory on kids to take their money. Now this precedent and standard of game developing then bled into the absolute disgrace of Modern Warfare Zombies, which I personally wouldn't even call a Call of Duty Zombies game. I have tried my best to wipe it out of my memory for the disgusting attempt they have made to make an open world zombies. And there have been multiple creators who have been practically shadow banned by Treyarch because they're criticizing their work. Like, how dare they expose our cash grabs and our greediness. Now, I know this video isn't about the multiplayer of Call of Duty, it's about the zombies, but it goes hand in hand because they're pretty much the same thing at the moment. Obviously, I'm going to talk about Black Ops 6 in a minute, but I need to get Modern Warfare Zombies off of my chest just because of how lazy and ridiculous of an attempt it was. Now, obviously, people know with the track record they have of money grabbing and being greedy in their multiplayer games previously before, they absolutely knew that it was going to come about to be a lazy slop of a game where there was going to be no effort put in. I honestly think they're doing a speed run to ruin their company as quick as possible. I actually also think because the series has gone on for so long on the same continuous path, I really don't think they care anymore. Obviously, when I mean they don't care anymore, they obviously care about the money in your wallets that you're going to give to them. They just don't care about the quality of the game they put out anymore. Like, I had so many friends tell me, oh bro, this time it's going to be different. This time they've learned their lesson. No, they haven't. It is the same consecutive slop 4 years in a row. It's not okay and it needs to be talked about more. And this obviously also plays into the fact of what I talked about earlier, where every generation is going to have a new COD Zombies game and everyone's going to grow up with a new one. Unfortunately, the little kids just do not care anymore. They will buy this stuff and they will feel no regret or remorse. They don't care. Call of Duty don't care. That they don't care. All they care about is the money that they get, and unfortunately the older generation of Zombies players are getting let down. Now let's talk about Black Ops 6. I don't care. I haven't cared for a long time. I haven't really cared since Vanguard, and the only reason I played the game a tiny little bit is because it was on Game Pass and I pretty much got it for free. I would never ever pay the money ever again unless it's on Game Pass now. Like, I played the launch map, the first one. I know I think a couple of them launched with it, but I played the first one for a few games, got to like round 20 and just quit and said that was mediocre at best, which, to be honest, they should be doing way more than mediocre after the absolute joke they've given us for the last 4 releases. I also think it's really important to talk about this, not just because of Zombies, I know this is what the video is about, but because of the slop that every single other company is making. Ubisoft shit and Assassin's Creed Shadows. To be honest, I actually sort of enjoyed it, but I will not buy another one of their games just because of the absolute ridicule they've given their customers about wanting to own their games. They absolutely know that they want physical media to phase out and digital media to come in, where you don't actually own your game, they just want you to know that you own a license. And I honestly think that that's what Treyarch is secretly doing with Call of Duty. That's why they put it on Game Pass. That's why they want less people to buy it and put it on Game Pass, because they don't want people owning their games. So when they take it away later, you can't say anything because, hey ho, I didn't actually buy it, it was on Game Pass. But if you've actually bought it, doesn't mean you're safe. They're just going to do the same thing because all of these companies are following in each other's footsteps. They all want it digitally now. This is why I preserve physical media. I will eventually do a tour of my physical media wall because I cherish it and I think that it needs to be important to own your games. Now, if you want a better breakdown of it, I would suggest going to Some Ordinary Games breakdown of how Ubisoft is basically doing what every other company wants to do, but they're just taking further action now, being open about it. They're holding down on their decision. They don't care about their fan base. They don't care what fan base do they have left, to be honest. But go visit his channel. He does an amazing breakdown of how they're money grabbing and sucking. It all started essentially with the game called The Crew, where if you bought The Crew, the original Crew, back then, it has now been shut down. So, well, the online servers have been shut down, so you can no longer play it. If you bought it, get stuffed, basically. They could easily add an offline patch so where you can still play the game, but they don't want that. Do you know what their response is? Buy The Crew 2. And also what they're saying is now when you buy a game digitally, you don't actually own that game, you only own the license, which I personally think it should be illegal to put a purchase button under the thought that you have bought the game. It's not in your possession. It's on a time limit. And like I said, unfortunately, it's the older gamers that have to pay for it. The newer kids don't give a fuck. They really don't care. In fact, I actually read a statistic that more kids don't care about games anymore, so why would they care? So the reason I brought up originally on the start of the video my personal history and experience with the COD games is because to me they have a legacy to uphold. I think some of their earlier games were absolutely generational game changers. Now, unfortunately, guys, I have a boiler in my room, so if you hear a noise in the background, I do apologize for that. It's just the water running in my house. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I know this is a bit different to what I usually do, which is custom zombies, but I just had to talk about it, and I really enjoy making commentaries. So if you want to see more stuff like this, please let me know in the comments. Please hit the subscribe button. It helps me reach out to wider audiences and helps me get a bit more known. I really appreciate you guys. Peace.